Coinbase was the number one app in the App Store last week. The business has absolutely been exploding. When we go ahead and we look at what being number one in the App Store means, it means it's the most downloaded app at that time. Coinbase was ahead of very popular applications: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, many others. And Coinbase continues to be the number one brand in the United States, whether it's for consumers or for institutions. Now, there's tons of competition. Many people are trying to vie for who can be the leader in the United States, who can be that leading brand, who can have the most number of users, and who can have the most trading volume for an exchange. But Coinbase still sat atop the App Store charts last week. This is the top charts for the iPhone in the US, all categories. Coinbase sitting as number one. Now, Coinbase was first listed in June of 2014, and it's been the most popular download in the US in 2017 and in May of 2021. So this is not the first time that Coinbase has topped the charts. Now, there's a lot of people who say, oh, the way that they did this was they got to the top of the charts because if you see right there as the number one, they say Coinbase, trade Bitcoin, ETH, or Shiba Inu. Now, there's plenty of people searching for that. And of course, if they gamed the way to get to the top, you could argue that that's not a good thing. But they got to the top. They are the number one app from download standpoint. When we go ahead and look, and now it's in the finance category. When we go ahead and we look at the crypto apps ranking on the App Store in the US, this is fascinating. Cash App has stood at the top for quite a while, according to the block. But Coinbase came up and overtook them. And so it's very interesting to see Cash App continues to stay flat over time. Fred Ersham, the co-founder of Coinbase, posted this awesome graphic. He said how it started and how it's going. On the left, we have the original Coinbase site that doesn't look anything like the slick app on the right, how it's going. So to see from 2014 to today, they built the number one app in the App Store. Now, if we go ahead and we look, the Coinbase stock, which, disclosure, I own, the Coinbase stock ends up having a great October. Bitcoin wasn't the only thing that went up. Coinbase stock up almost 45% during the month of October. Of course, as the price of the underlying assets goes up, the public equities that have exposure to the industry or serve as infrastructure for the industry are going to also go up as well. The way that an industry like this, that is very nascent and most people don't have in their portfolio, works is that people are going to say, there's three ways that I can get exposure. I can either buy the underlying assets myself, I can invest in the infrastructure, or I can go ahead and I can earn some sort of equity or the assets in exchange for my time. If I'm not going to go work in the industry, work for one of these companies, or work for one of these organizations that it pays people in the various assets, then the only two options you have is you can buy the individual assets or you can buy the infrastructure. Infrastructure includes things like Coinbase, like mining stocks and others. But right now, the most popular, the largest, the one that gets the most coverage is Coinbase. That could change over time, but Coinbase, in essence, serves as a proxy. Very similar to how MicroStrategy serves as a proxy for Bitcoin, Coinbase serves as a proxy for many investors for the overall industry. It doesn't hurt that they also have a really profitable business, and it's a fast-growing business with a lot of users and a lot of different products, including when they announced their brand new NFT platform, and they have millions of people signed up on the waitlist almost immediately. But Coinbase will continue to do well, in my personal opinion, as long as the underlying assets continue to do well as well. So if we believe that Bitcoin is going to go up over time, then of course, we also should believe that the infrastructure companies are going to go up as well. They are related. They are correlated in some way. And so when we think about Coinbase at the top of the App Store, two things come to mind. One is that Coinbase will continue to flirt with the top rankings of the charts along with other companies in the industry because what they are doing is they are providing an entry point. People who do not have the ability to buy this on a brokerage service or in any of their other accounts, they need a crypto-specific application. You can argue whether that should be the one that they go to or not. It doesn't matter. It will still serve as the entry place for a lot of people. And so that will lead to downloads. Download leads to the top of the charts. The second thing is that it will not surprise me that if we look at the top 50 downloads in the App Store through the end of this year, I would expect somewhere between 5 to 7 different businesses in the crypto industry to penetrate the top 50 in the App Store. Those could be exchanges, those could be platforms where you can get cards that are related, yield, or other things, maybe even custody applications. But to continue to see more and more crypto companies entering the top 50 in the App Store isn't going to be surprising at all. This has now moved from a contrarian idea, a contrarian industry where there's very few people participating, to a consensus. And if there is something that people want to use, they will have to download the mobile apps. The mobile apps will then lead to the top rankings. And so by the end of the year, top 50 in the App Store, I personally believe we'll see 5 to 7 companies, about 10% of the top 50 of coming from this industry, which will be pretty cool. John, what did you think when you saw Coinbase up at number 1 on the App Store last year?
It makes sense, right? There was a surge in Shiba Inu, and that them adding that to their exchange and kind of putting it in that headline when people maybe even search for it on the App Store kind of makes sense for that. Going number 1 is huge, right? These rankings do change all the time, so even since last week, it's already gone down to number about 15 in the United States for all apps. But we showed the finance apps earlier, and it was number 1. Crypto.com was number 2, right? So these apps aren't going anywhere. As Bitcoin keeps progressing, I expect to see a more surge in downloads going into the end of the year. And then, look, the Shiba thing is irrelevant in my opinion. But these exchanges are they're masters. They're trying to make money, right? So they're going to list it on their exchange.
Joe, what do you think?
I just think it speaks to how much investing has become part of culture, right? This stuff wasn't really talked about within especially younger generations, but on social media and all the stuff prior to, it may be a little bit before the pandemic, but the pandemic really accelerated it. And I think crypto is seen as one of those avenues where, sure, there's some people trying to game the system and make money, and you see people online saying, hey, if you only have a little bit of capital, put it in these shit coins and maybe they'll go up, right? But at the end of the day, it's a good thing that these apps are being downloaded and people are talking about investing and people are learning, because as we know, the easiest way to learn some of this stuff is just to buy stuff, right? And get invested, and you'll learn along the way. So whether it's $1, $500, $1,000, whatever it ends up being, I think the idea that these apps are downloading and people are talking about investing is a good thing. When you look at the numbers, we talk about it all the time, nearly 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and 45% of Americans do not have investable assets. So I think anything we can do to lower that number and get people invested and have them learn along the way is a good thing.